Ba-ba-da-bow-bow, Banger Management Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Woo!
Woo! And only 2 woos today because
Wow.
we have the ghost of JQ with us as we speak.
Ooh.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that was actually a pretty good ghost woo.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm impressed. But welcome in everybody to Banger Management, the fantasy hockey podcast. Today is week 19 news updates and the famous Would You Rathers. I know. Listen, I know trade deadlines
World
are behind
famous.
us in most leagues, but the Would You Rathers are still relevant because I went a little waiver wire today. Little Would You Rather on the waivers, you know?
Look, there's no point in the hockey season where you don't have to make a choice between two players, whether it's by trade or it's by waiver wires. So Would You Rathers are always relevant, and Kevin's always keeping it fresh and spicy for us.
And we're literally recording this Tuesday evening, and it's going up Wednesday morning. So literally the closest return as possible. I mean, turnaround, not return. You know what I mean? But this is the last news episode before the trade deadline in the NHL, which is this Friday, which is crazy. I feel like we're getting so many new tidbits every day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this person's on the move. These are the teams that are interested, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So many rumors, but I think this is kind of a calm before the storm episode where, not much has happened just yet. In terms of trades, we're hearing, like you said, a lot of rumors circling, but we're not going to report on it until it. I mean, our next news episode is going to be post trade deadline, and that's where we're going to have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. But until then, we've got some tidy business to talk about.
I will say maybe a little trade relevant Would You Rathers in later in the episode. So Stay tuned. Make sure you stay until the end.
I like it.
Because I think some are definitely worth talking about right now in case they do happen. But yeah, a lot of injury talk too we're going to get to today. But before we do get into it, just going to remind everybody, if you're not already following, on Spotify or Apple, please drop us a follow there. If you like what you hear, rate us 5 stars. Really appreciate it. Going into the fantasy playoffs, trying to get all the support we can. And if you're not already in the Discord, make sure to join that. Growing community. We're literally almost at 300 members. It'd be really cool to hit that before the fantasy playoffs start. Literally talking trades, talking start sits, all that good stuff every day. So if you're not already in there, take a look. And on the YouTube, of course, if you're watching our beautiful faces as we speak, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Yeah, without further ado, let's get into it because we got some big news. Josh is psyched about this one.
All right, let's dive right in because I am so excited about this. This is in all uppercase. I don't know, one of the best things that's happened to me. I'm rejoicing super hard. Jim Hiller is gone. Our prayers have been answered. DJ Smith, interim head coach for the rest of the season. Let's ignore the fact that DJ Smith doesn't have the best reputation. Hiller is gone. I don't care. You can have a talking monkey behind the bench, and we'd be better off. I'm so excited as a Kuemper owner, as a Brandt Clarke owner. I mean, that's got to be the top 2 guys who Jim Hiller was a terrorist on. So I'm very, very excited. Look, we still have to. What was it? I always mix it up ever since we got called out for. Is it temper or tamper your expectations?
I think you have to temper your expectations.
Temper, yes. You're not tampering with them. You're tempering them. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like tempered steel. Got it. Okay, yeah. Exactly. Sorry. I'm jacked up right now. I'm so excited about this. I was literally, the night before this happened, I was losing my mind about how much I hated Jim Hiller.
I think everybody in Discord also saw.
Yes,
saw you losing your mind.
Well, because first I was losing my mind to you guys in our group chat, and then I was like, you know what? If people are in the Discord, they deserve to see the real. They deserve to see the crash out. Look, if you open your heart and let everyone see your Matthew Olivier crash outs. So I will do the same and bare my heart and soul in the Discord. And so I absolutely went off on how much I hate Jim Hiller, and I guess. LA management is in the Discord and they saw that and they were just like, oh, I didn't realize that Josh felt this way. And so they got rid of him. But yeah, anyways, let's talk about implications.
Yeah.
First of all,
the
implication, exactly. It could only be positive. Look, it doesn't mean all of a sudden everything's perfect, but it could only be a positive because Hiller, it was an awful coach. He was just doing terrible deployment. The lines didn't make sense. This all stemmed back really and this is not just me. This is me I my hatred's strong, but this is me reading all sorts of LA Kings fans and news and whatever, and everyone hated him ever since he lost the series to Edmonton in the playoffs last year with that ridiculous goalie interference call. challenge. I don't know if you remember that. That kind of turned the entire tide of the series, right? And it was like the most obvious, like essentially like they tied it up late after coming back from like 3 goals. Hiller decides to challenge when it was obviously a good goal. Then so Edmonton goes on the power play and then scores again, and then they win the game, and that just turned the whole tide of the series. So everyone's hated Hiller ever since. And so in terms of specific players, I mean, Kuemper, right? Like I feel like
if the team starts winning again,
that's it.
It's good for the goalies in general, right? That's kind of what you're going with here.
So, like, look, I'm not saying, like, he's been so bad, right? So it could only go up, and at least we have some sort of catalyst to kind of hope that a change is coming. Then there's, for Clarke, I mean, he had already kind of forced Hiller's hand to put him on power play 1 because the power play was so bad without him, and then it became, like, okay with him. So, but now, like, I think that spot is even more secured. I think we're seeing a more consolidated power play 1. I mean, that's also a bit due to injuries and stuff, but I think that is great. And I'm curious to see if LA is going to keep adding, right? Like the Panarin trade was like, we're big buyers, but then they kept being terrible. But now they fired their coach, and they're still in the race for the playoffs. Like they could still make it if they stop sucking. So I'm very curious to see. I mean, big if, but I'm curious to see if they make another move to add and how they could improve after this coaching change.
I think they want another center, and I think they want Laine. I think the Laine rumors are, like you've mentioned multiple times on the podcast already. I think those are very strong. I think Habs might retain 50%, but like his contract expires at the end of the year, so they don't really care. Listen, they added Panarin, they lost Fiala, so it kind of feels like a slight positive because Panarin's better than Fiala, but it's still, you wanted
both
the big boost. So they're kind of in a pickle, and the results haven't been there. It's so ironic that they fired the coach literally after a shutout.
Yeah, I know.
But it was like, okay, from the backup goalie nonetheless.
I know.
But
crazy.
So I think just positives to come from this. Is it a little too late? That's the only worry in my mind. Like they don't believe that themselves that they're a competing team, so they just like, I don't want to say punt the season because it's Kopitar's like final farewell. They're not just gonna be like, all right, let's give up. Like,
and they're so close. They're like 3 points out, so.
But they can't mortgage the whole future for this year when they're already not like a solidified team, right? So I can't imagine they're making a big move. So I'm curious to see who they add besides Laine if that actually does get confirmed. Is Laine enough to move the needle? I don't think so. Maybe we just see some fun games at the end of the season where like some power play goals and stuff. But besides that, I don't see them moving a little too much unless DJ Smith can really like turn the tide of this team and get everything settled. But I just think it's a little too late. So
I will say I think that first of all, there's the general kind of new coach bump, so we'll hope to see that. But that's kind of like a vague, idea that there's like we've seen it happen, but it might also just be like anecdotal evidence. I do think like Smith has the reputation of being really good for developing young players, so I really do think Brandt Clarke is the biggest beneficiary of this. I think that he's 62% owned right now, so he's probably owned in most leagues. But if he's not owned in your league, I think this is a serious pickup for rest of the season. So I would definitely recommend that. And then with Kuemper, we'll see how the team does. I do think you mentioned that they wanted a center and Laine, but I think they're also looking at a defenseman. So not a specific one. I think they're looking at adding a defenseman. And if they can add a defenseman who's actually good at defense, again, that could help. That could help them win games. It could help the goalie. So it'll be interesting to see. But end of the day, Jim Hiller is gone. I'm happy. We all rejoice.
I mean, that's a perfect segue because talking about defensemen, we just got a defenseman on the move to the Edmonton Oilers.
Massive deal.
Huge move. Let's talk about it. Connor Murphy from Chicago to Edmonton, 50% retained, a second round pick going the other way. I mean, this feels like the least fantasy relevant trade.
This was the last piece they needed to win the cup. So
it's done. It's over. Tristan Jarry will now finally be a good goalie.
Ingram's starting like his 3rd game in a row. Like
deservedly so.
Jarry's so bad. But we don't have to rehash that. But so for this very not fantasy relevant, Connor Murphy's had relevance as a streamer in the past for hits and blocks. I looked at his averages this year; they haven't been there.
He has had the minutes this year. That's why the averages have been lower. Like he's been kind of like a 3rd pairing guy.
Yeah, and I kind of expect the same in Edmonton.
He could be a top 4 guy in Edmonton, and if he is, I can see him having like some like 2-hit, 2-block type of coverage. I just think this shores up their penalty kill. I saw somebody say like Connor Murphy was on the best PK in the league, which was the Chicago Blackhawks power penalty kill, which I did not realize they had the best
that's
power
crazy.
penalty kill. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's just kind of a special teams move to help them there because they know they're going to take a lot of penalties, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, if you can get better on defense, you get better on defense. You got to help your goalies out where you can.
That's it. I feel like a lot of these types of moves are like so not flashy. And like most like more casual fans will kind of just blow them over. And in terms of fantasy, you kind of just blow it over. But it's the kind of move you make to kind of gear up for playoffs. Like you said, shore up, like, look, at a certain point, every time you have a goalie, like their goalie's been a story for like 5 years, right? Like how awful their goalies are. At a certain point, maybe you're like, take a look at the defense, right? Like what are the odds that every single goalie you get and trade for or whatever is terrible? I mean, look at Stuart Skinner on Pittsburgh, right? He's killing it. So maybe it's a defensive issue. So adding a, kind of like quiet, solid, like quiet, like 4 or 5D like this to your team, like it could help. So we'll see, but not the most fantasy relevant.
I will say though, if this bumps down, Darnell Nurse minutes at all, if you have Darnell Nurse as like a banger stud and he ends up playing like line 3, which I'm not saying is going to happen, but I'm saying it's in the range of outcomes. If it's like, Bouchard, Ekholm, Wallman, Murphy, and then Nurse and whoever else they decide to put there, like that's a hit on Nurse's value in terms of like being a banger stud. Because you had him he was the prototypical like 2 shots, 2 hits, 2 blocks type of guy. He's not getting you many points or anything else, but that's still very valuable in bangers leagues. If he's not even going to get you the minutes, then he's probably not hitting those thresholds.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. All right, another massive trade. Michael McCarron was traded from the Nashville Predators to Minnesota for a 2nd-round pick. That seems to be the classic trade chip these days. Is you just toss a 2nd-round pick their way, and they're like, all right, we'll send you our bottom 6 guy, But I really like McCarron. Actually, I considered picking him up at times this year because he's a pure C, so that's the downside. But he was giving you solid like PIMs, face-off wins, hits, blocks, some shots. So like he was giving good category coverage. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see Minnesota just does not have a good playoff schedule, and obviously this is like the super like deepest of deep. Like you need like a center who can hit some of those cats. So this is not the most fancy relevant, but you had mentioned before, like when this trade got broken, like super recently. Honestly, this trade happened like an hour ago. Yeah, exactly. This is a good indicator. We know Minnesota was looking for a center pretty hard. They were in the rumors with Trocheck. They were in the rumors with Thomas, maybe. Pretty much every set. Like this is a very center heavy deadline. It feels like, and there's a lot of teams that need them. So Minnesota's in the thick of it. Does this mean that they're no longer in the hunt for these other centers? Obviously, it's a completely different caliber of player, but do you think they're like calling it like this is our center that we acquired at the deadline, and we're kind of done?
I mean, I think the main centers that were on the trade block are Vincent Trocheck. I think he's the main commodity. I think Robert Thomas. I think Nazem Kadri. From what I heard, Vincent Trocheck doesn't want to go west. Yeah. So I think we narrowed it down to probably Carolina, probably Detroit. As we're recording this, none of those things have happened. We're probably going to see those happen on Friday, most likely.
Yeah.
So he's out of the question. Now, Robert Thomas, it was like I'd be so shocked if he gets traded to like today. It was like, he's probably going to Buffalo.
Yeah.
So I think Minnesota just realized that the landscape just didn't suit them. And I don't think they want a Kadri. So for them, this is kind of like a rental, shores up their center. And to me, this is a huge win for Eriksson Ek and Hartman, because I think that basically tells you that rest of the season, those 2 guys are going to be the top 2 Cs on the team. Right now, I think Hartman is playing with Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson Ek is playing line 2 with Boldy. So as of right now, like I think both have value. Whoever's on power play 1 is going to have like the more value. But now you don't have to be afraid of Joel Eriksson Ek getting bumped off and losing all his trade value, I think, or fantasy value.
Yeah, I think that's all really good points, and I think this is like, it's an interesting way to look at like such a minor trade, right? And same thing you did like to a lesser extent with like the Murphy one and how that could affect like Darnell Nurse. Like there's kind of like upstream effects to a lot of this stuff. So it's just interesting to look at. You see a lot of these kind of inconsequential trades, and you kind of try and get an idea of what it means for the future. Even though like all this is going to be answered in 3 days, but if you can have some ideas 3 days in advance, then you could maybe take advantage in some way. So it's definitely interesting. But that's all we've got for trades for now. In the next like 2 days, it's going to get wild, and I'm very excited, and our next episode will have a lot more for you. But until then, let's move into the injuries portion of this episode.
I will say this is, another chance to plug the Discord. Like we've been talking about the trades and all the rumors like as soon as they're happening. So if you're not already in there, please join. You won't regret it. I think now we're getting to, playoff crunch time. So now is the most important to be on top of your game. Do you want to just a little tidbit on the Robert Thomas before we get into all the injuries? Because I think it's definitely worth talking about because he's the type of center that could be available in some leagues on waivers. Like
I'm surprised at how many people in the Discord are asking if they should pick him up because in our league he's been owned all year. But I didn't realize that he's available in leagues. But pretty much it emerged today that a lot of rumors to the point where I'm like, it feels kind of like a done deal of Robert Thomas going to Buffalo. And honestly, like it makes a lot of sense. They've got a lot of assets that they can give up and that won't necessarily like hurt them too much. So I'm seeing like centered around like Owen Power, Jack Quinn, first round picks, something like that. And in both like in one was like some people might think like, wow, that seems like a huge haul for St. Louis, but at the same time, you have to remember like Robert Thomas is a 26-year-old 1C on an amazing contract. So those, you got to pay up for those. So look, it seems like it's a fit on both sides. I think it's just a matter of time. And you want to discuss the implications of it. First of all, if Thomas is available in your league, does this make him an interesting pickup? I think absolutely. I think he's
a must pickup before the trade deadline because I would not want to risk missing out on him with the potential of him going to Buffalo. I'd be proactive in trying to make a pickup, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't get traded, it doesn't work out, and you can take that L. But I think just the upside is so massive that I would take a swing.
Yeah, with how Buffalo's playing this year, like they're a serious contender. They just don't have like the name value of like some of these other teams. But like imagine if it was like Edmonton or Pittsburgh, I mean not Pittsburgh, Edmonton or Colorado, whatever, like
Florida or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's where Buffalo's ahead of like, half those teams, like, or most of those teams at this point in the season. So it may not be like the biggest name in your head, but like, look, Robert Thomas, if he gets traded there's a solid chance he's playing with Tage Thompson on line one and Alex Tuck or Doan or whoever they throw in as the third guy on that line. But like Tage Thompson's having an unreal season. Robert Thomas, other than this year, has been an over point per game player. Like, yes, he doesn't do much in terms of peripherals other than face-off wins, but like, it's not easy to pick up a guy who's going to be over a point per game. And Buffalo has a great playoff schedule, weeks 21 to 23. They've got a 4-3-3, but that middle week, they're one of only two teams that don't play on the Tuesday. So that's essentially kind of like having a 4-game week on that week. So it's a huge pickup. Like you said, this is the type of thing where I like doing a preemptive pickup because the upside is just so high.
Yep. So if he's available in your league, sincerely take a look, and if you can cut your worst player to pick up a Robert Thomas, and you'll have your answer by Friday whether it's happening or not. So you pick him up on a Wednesday, you have to hold him for 2 days until Friday. I think it's well worth it. So definitely worth a look. And I think the only implication that's worth noting in terms of a negative would be whoever gets bumped off that power play one, because we know Robert Thomas is going to be there, right? So I mean, Josh and I discussed it a little bit before we started recording, but it's going to be either like Josh Norris, Josh Doan, or Jason Zucker. I think Zucker's pretty safe with him being the net front guy, so it'll probably be like a Norris or Doan thing. The more we discuss it, the more I was like, probably Norris keeps the spot just because of how he is like a trigger man on that power play, and he's good for a power play goal. But I wouldn't be shocked if he's the one that gets bumped off, him being like, just the center for center swap there.
Yeah, I honestly I think it could be any of the three, like equally. And it's definitely going to be one. They're not going to trade for Thomas and not put him on power play one. So it's definitely one of those three. And I do think whichever one gets bumped off is an immediate drop. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one.
We'll have to wait and see. But now time to get into this is some big boy news. I mean, we foreshadowed this on the podcast. I'm surprised it happened this early. But given how the season is going and how the games are going, not shocking. Just the timing was a little off. But JT Miller on IR, most likely for the rest of the season. Like we talked about him being one of the candidates for being shut down. It was like him, it was Adam Fox. The guys that were like battling injuries the whole year. Now finally it happens. They put him on IR. They said it's a new injury, not what he was dealing with the rest of the year. Do I buy that? I'm not sure. I think it's just like an excuse to be able to put him on IR and be ambiguous with what's happening. But how do we feel and the ramifications here?
First of all, in terms of who would replace him on power play one, I think it would be Will Cooley. I mean, he was already on power play one many times during the year. And I mean, it's going to be a mess, right? Trocheck's also on his way out.
Yep.
So it's going to be Fox, Zibanejad, and then Lafreniere, Cooley, and
Perreault.
Yeah. So it's no longer a power play I'm super excited to to be a part of. Like a guy like Cooley is great because he's just a bangers guy, and power play one upside is obviously solid. But like
more minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's obviously better to be on power play 1 than not, but it's not like one that I'm like, oh my god, I have to get a piece of that. But in terms of Miller himself, just to make it clear, there haven't been official, no one officially said he's out for the season. This is us kind of speculating because it is that kind of like perfect storm of like he's been dealing with injuries all year. The team's doing awful. He's doing after every game he's having these press conferences that are
That
just
make
like
him look embarrassing.
that are just embarrassing. And so he's clearly is dealing with something. He went straight to IR and they have nothing to play for. If anything, they'd rather be losing and tanking. So this is one of those situations where it makes a lot of sense for him to be shut down for the season. So that's why we're saying we're kind of viewing it as that, but he can be back as soon as a week from now. So we'll see how it plays out, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I was talking about this with a Waffle Stomper in the Discord, which shout out Waffle Stomper. But he said he's basically a longtime New York Rangers fan, and like he likes JT, but it kind of feels like, he came in for a year. They already made him captain when there's been guys that are like longer tenured there. The Trocheks, the Zibanejad, Adam Foxes, maybe even the Shesterkins. So you kind of put the captain armband on him. Maybe not everybody agrees with the decision. Then, you have to have the on ice results to back up your play. Like, is he going to be the guy to put, Mika Zibanejad and hype him up or whatever when he's not even performing on the ice and he's just got there type of thing. So we knew it was a controversial decision already, but now he's not even going to be on the ice. It just kind of feels like a whole mess from this Rangers organization.
Yeah,
and
what a brutal year to pick JT Miller as my first round pick. It's actually crazy.
You got blessed, Josh. You've been blessed with so many trades this year, and I don't know how it happened, but somebody offered Josh Connor McDavid for his JT Miller and Tage Thompson. And like, was it week 2 or 3?
It was
felt
really
super
early on
the season.
Yeah.
And listen, in our league, JT Miller is usually like a first round pick because we play in a full bangers category leagues with like face-off wins, PIMs, hits, shots, shorties, which JT excels at. Plus, the Rangers had the best playoff schedule going into the season, so it made him like an even better first round pick.
That's why I picked him. But then he was awful.
We've seen him hit like 100 points in the past or close to. Like he had a lot of upside going into the season. And so the other guy thought he was buying low, selling McDavid after a few weeks. And then lo and behold, probably derailed this whole entire season.
I don't know. Tage has been unreal. So like,
yeah, but I'd still rather have McDavid.
I mean, yeah, for sure. But it's like, I don't know if it's a season-ending move, but it's definitely, especially if JT's out for the season, then I'm definitely feeling pretty good about.
It's like a self-imposed huge obstacle.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Look, I'm happy I got to get out of JT, and my consolation prize was McDavid. So definitely, and I mean, pretty much everything we said. He's out for the season probably, and this Rangers team is kind of just imploding. I will say we were kind of high on the Rangers going into the season. Yep, I feel like everything that could go wrong went wrong. We were also like, we look at playoff schedule way in advance, right? So that definitely influenced me in taking JT in my first round. Kevin picked Panarin in the second round. He picked Trocheck in the third round. Look, both of those guys are not going to be on the Rangers by next week. Like it's tough because like I still stand by looking at playoff schedule way in advance, but this is just kind of shows that. A season's a long time and a lot can happen, right? Yeah. No one thought the Rangers would be selling all these pieces going into the season. They thought they'd be a contender. So it's just something to note for future years is that, you always got to be able to like improvise, adapt, and overcome. But
you always got to adjust. I will say though, we talked about Will Cooley getting the biggest bump out of this JT Miller just because he's the one that probably slots into that power play 1, and that's just got boost in his deployment. But I really do like what I'm seeing from Gabe Perreault like end of season. I feel like there's no reason why they're not just gonna like let the kid run and see what he can do. And if he's getting top 6 minutes and potentially power play 1, I think he can be like a fantasy darling. If you're like in a deep league, like a 14-team league, I feel like he should probably be owned. But I mean, him and this next guy we'll talk about that's replacing Mark Stone. Let's talk about that. Mark Stone, day to day, but it's like a true day to day. Is it really?
We're right before the
trade deadline. I did not see the injury.
Okay, it's literally like, okay, when I was younger, I would get nosebleeds a lot. Okay. And my friends, it got to a point where my friends would make a joke that like they'd accidentally like step on my shoe and my nose would start bleeding, or like someone would like the wind would blow in my direction and my nose would start bleeding. That's Mark Stone with injuries. Like if you watch this play, he's like, he doesn't even have the puck. He's like skating by and like Letang kind of like taps him on the arm, like literally the most nothing play in the world, and he's just like goes like, oh my god, and starts like he's like hunched over going to the bench, just like leaves the game and just doesn't come back, and it's just like nothing happened. He just people are like, he clearly maybe aggravated something at the Olympics, and this was like re-aggravating it with like the tiniest little like hit or whatever. But look, there's a reason we call him Mark Glass, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if this is if this lasts
LTIR, and then they add somebody at the trade deadline in 3 days, 2 days.
He didn't get the memo that rule has been changed. So yeah.
Like, wait, guys, why aren't you putting me on LTIR?
Exactly. He's like, I got injured at my regular time of year, so let's do it. But yeah, no. So like, I feel like this could be one of those like kind of like lingering day-to-days that last for a bit. I'm not ready to go as far to say that he's going to last until like fantasy playoffs and all that. But at the end of the day, Vegas is pretty comfortable in a playoff spot. So this is like the opposite end of the JT Miller, right? This is like maybe he gets shut down for the rest of the regular season because they don't need him in the regular season and they just want him ready for playoffs. So that happened to me last year when I had Draisaitl, right?
Yeah.
This happens to
his goal streak ended, and they were like, "All right, we can just rest you now."
That's it. This is literally the two sides of the coin. It's like having a player on a team that's so bad that they'll shut them down for the season, or having a player on a team that's like so good that they'll shut them down for the season to come back for playoffs. Yeah. So I'd definitely be wary of this as a Mark Stone owner. I mean, most trade deadlines are over, so I don't know if there's much you can do about it. You just have to hold and hope he comes back. But his power play one replacement should be Brayden Bowman, and we saw this earlier in the year when Mark Stone was injured earlier, because he's always injured. We saw Brayden Bowman come in and actually be pretty solid on that line one power play one. So I think line one power play one on Vegas, hard to get better deployment than that. Bowman, I think he's like a real prospect. I hadn't really heard of him much before he got called up originally, but I'd picked him up during that run, and then Mark Stone magically came back like 2 days later. But anyways, I'm over it. But yeah, so I think Bowman has some sneaky potential for sure.
I mean, I had picked him up earlier this season in like a 20-man league that like has nobody on waivers besides 0% owned guys, and he was like very valuable for a while. Like he was getting top 6 deployment with power play one. Basically, like as much as your talent can take you, you will go. And I think this is a similar situation now that Mark Stone is out. Like I'd be seriously considering streaming Brayden Bowman, even though like his roster percentage is still going to be low. He might be able to produce better than the name value. So I'd keep my eye on it. But I do. Maybe this is just the optimist in me, but I do really think this is going to be like a true day-to-day for Mark Stone. Like I think he'll miss like a 2 to 4 games and nothing more than that. So it's not a long-term solution. But if you need to stream a couple games to flip the tide of your matchup with some power play exposure, I think you can do worse than the Vegas power play.
Yeah, I like it how you said, like I wouldn't pick up Bowman expecting him to be like a season-long solution. Yeah. But if you need the stream, and then with you hold him for a couple days, and if during those days you hear that Mark Stone's out for a longer period of time, then you could hold on to him. So you've always got that kind of like little upside there.
The upside.
Yeah. All right. Roope Hintz of the Dallas Stars is day-to-day. It's just an illness, but he was placed on IR, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Jamie Benn replaced him on power play one. I was thinking about picking up Ben like last week, but I was like, oh, Rupe's going to be back in like a day, so there's no point. I still kind of feel that way. Like I'm not going to pick up Ben just because it's an illness. If it was like anything else, like upper body, lower body, whatever, like I would be like more inclined to stream him, but I kind of feel like there's not much here.
It's 3 games, though, in a row that he's missing with illness. So it must be like a pretty severe illness to keep him out this long. I don't know if they're lying about anything, but he hasn't played since the Olympics. Yeah. So it's definitely something you need to monitor.
He's got that, that Olympic Village flu.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know what he was doing there, but I was going to make a joke, but I probably won't.
I was about to make a joke, too, but I was like, that probably can't go on here.
But either way, it's retroactive, so to February 25th, I believe. Okay. So they can basically activate him whenever he's healthy. And what they've led us to believe is that it's not serious. So maybe Wednesday morning you find out that like he missed a back-to-back on Monday, Tuesday, but maybe he ends up playing later this week. I think he'll be good to go for the weekend games. That's my take on it. And I will say Jamie Benn, like he's serviceable, but he's never exciting to me. I think it's just you see him produce, but then you look at his minutes and they're like 12 minutes, 13 minutes. I'm just like, it doesn't do it for me.
That's why like I was so close to, I mean, not so close to picking him up, but I was looking like very much, because if you remember, like right before the Olympic break,
yourself, like this is a good move,
like right before the Olympic break, he put up like 7 points in 4 games, and you're just sitting there for 2 weeks looking at that game log, and you're like, look at these 4 games, like right before the break, and then you have him coming back and being on power play one because the Rantanen injury and Hintz being out, but it's still, then you look at the minutes in that game log, and like you said, it's like 12 minutes, and you're like, this is not sustainable. So no, so yeah, not much else to say there. Hintz should be back by the weekend. Another one that is a bit unclear if it's just a nothing or if it'll turn something. John Gibson of the Detroit Red Wings, day to day with an injury. He left mid game of the last game he played,
Mm-hmm.
and in his absence, Cam Talbot would be the starter. Again, this one, I saw most recent reports said that he seems to be fine. He just got a bit shaken up. So I wouldn't read too much into this. It's a good exercise to have anyways. If Gibson is out for any period of time, how interested are you in Cam Talbot?
I mean, listen, Cam Talbot is almost 40 years old, so I don't know how much he can handle the workload, and I'm saying workload to be proper, but I would definitely be interested. You're picking up a starting goalie on a Detroit team that is going to make the playoffs, that is still fighting for seeding. So you could definitely do worse. Like, do I prefer the starter that is Cam Talbot over, I don't know, like a Tristan Jarry right now? Probably.
Like, you'd rather anyone over Tristan Jarry.
I mean,
Jarry's not even the starter anymore.
Would you rather him over Connor Ingram if he's a starter?
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
So it's just he'll be in that range. He'll be like a 80% of what John Gibson was previously, is kind of how I put it, 75 to 80% of him. But looks like we have nothing to worry about. Like, you guys might be listening to this already, and Wednesday morning practice, and they already said that John Gibson he's fine. It looked like he said he got like a puck in the face or near the shoulder area, and they kind of nicked him a little bit, and he felt awkward, but then he was just fine. And they really tempered our expectations of how severe the injury was after the game. So seemed like nothing to worry about. But we've been here before with John Gibson, so it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Travis Konecny of the Philadelphia Flyers is day-to-day, and Owen Tippett is getting his line one power play one spot in his absence. I think he was a game-time decision for the last game, and then he missed the game, and the coach has already said that he's a game-time decision for the next game, so this is very much not going to be a long-term thing.
No.
I like Tippett in bangers leagues regardless of that deployment, because he's good for shots and hits, but I wouldn't bang on this last long. I'm still... Tippett, I've been seeing like very slight trade rumors about. Like, I've been seeing some Tippett to Boston rumors, which would be insane because of their playoff schedule. As a Tippett owner, I'd be a big fan of that. But yeah, no, honestly, I wouldn't read too much into this Konecny stuff. It just sucks if you have him this week, and my opponent has him, so I'm okay with this.
Oh, for once it happens to Josh's opponent.
I know.
What happened to all my opponent's guys always get healthy when I play them?
I mean, they did. I'm playing against the guy who has Robert Thomas and Logan Cooley, two guys who have been out for literal months, and then they come back the week I play them. It's crazy.
And you're also playing against Matthew Olivier, who for the moment is 1 game, 1 goal. So our curse is real and active.
It's crazy. You look at his game log and it's just zeros between when we played him.
He plays me, drops 4 points in 2 games, plays Josh, scores a goal. You're welcome to literally every Banger Management fan that picked him up for the memes once again. I think it's going to be a thing every year.
It's actually crazy. Like, I think we're going to add that, like the Matthew Olivier, index, like what weeks you should pick him up. It'll just be the weeks that me and Kevin play him.
And he'll deliver.
Yeah,
you heard it
always does. Anyways, let's go to the next one. Quinton Byfield of the LA Kings is day-to-day with an injury. That was kind of like last second. He was just announced out of the last game. So I don't know how serious this is. Anze Kopitar gets his spot on power play one while he's out. How interested are you in Kopitar while Byfield's out?
I feel like I'm almost never interested in Kopitar. Like, no matter how, in my mind, he's always line 1 PP1, and he just doesn't do anything with it. So, he'll have stretches where he does stuff, but like I've seen this guy get like 1 shot in 4 games. So he's not somebody that I particularly want on my fantasy team unless you're trying to stream face-off wins. So that's literally all I have to say for Kopitar. Do you think that I saw him get a look with Panarin and Kempe? Like, they were like, okay, let's try to get you going type of thing. But I don't know if that's going to last. We'll have to see with the new lines with DJ Smith and see how things shake out. He can't be set up for more success than being between those 2 guys and on power play 1. So if he can't make it work then I'm not interested at all ever.
Yeah. But, it's his last year, so
yeah.
But yeah,
Ever was doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. And then in terms of Byfield, I really like Byfield rest of the season. If he can get healthy and stick on power play 1, like he was power play 1 before the coaching change, before the injury. So assuming he goes back there, I think that's the exact type of player who didn't have the deployment all year. He's got the pedigree. We've seen him have flashes in the past. He's the type of guy I could see having a good finish to the season.
But he's been like underperforming the whole year, so I feel like people have a negative view on Byfield just because he he was supposed to be a breakout candidate this year, right? And nothing happened.
Yeah.
So would you hold even though the results are not necessarily there, hoping? Like, let's say you have to drop like a Zuccarello for the chance at Byfield. Like, would you do that?
No, I would just keep Zuccarello at that point.
Right.
So that's a fair point. Like in our league, I just have like so many droppable guys that I'd love to take the shot at Byfield, but there's still better options for sure.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Mikael Granlund of the Anaheim Ducks is day-to-day with an injury, and Beckett Seneca is taking his spot on power play 1. And honestly, I don't understand. I don't see any way that he could get bumped off power play 1 with how well he's been playing.
This kid is insane.
He is nuts.
I'm fully on the train. Like, he's my captain.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a chance Granlund comes back from injury and just doesn't get his spot back.
Or he bumps somebody else off.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Troy Terry is cooked for the rest of the season. Like, I think right now he's hurt. We're not even going to talk about him because he's so irrelevant, it feels like.
Yeah.
No shade, no whatever. Troy Terry, I'm sorry if you're listening, but it seems like your fantasy peak is behind you. Seneca, I don't know how you want to say it, but whatever the right way of saying it is, kid's a beast. And he's literally only 48% owned. Like, so he's never on our waiver shows, but he's still available in half of the leagues. If he's available in your league, I'd like seriously consider adding.
I really like Anaheim's schedule rest of the season, so I would definitely pick him up.
He's probably better than the 2 worst guys on your roster is my guess, unless you're in like in a 10-team league.
Yeah.
But Granlund, I think he would have value when he's healthy, because I do think that he's going to be an important part of this team. I see him either as, top 6 and probably power play 1, but I wouldn't be shocked, like Josh said, if he's power play 2. We'll have to monitor the situation. We'll give you all the information as soon as he comes back. But for the moment, the Ducks are a playoff team. Like, they were so hot and they were so dog awful, and now they're
so hot.
Now it feels like they're one of the teams that we're already penciling in for the playoffs. So
for sure, I mean, they're second in their division. Like, they're they're better than Edmonton, that's for sure. Like, it's honestly they can be better than Vegas. I think they could win their division.
That's crazy.
I know, but
think about it, where they were last year.
I know, it's actually nuts, but a very exciting future for the Ducks, and the future is now, old man, as they say.
I feel like they're a sleeper team to make a move. Like, I feel like they were low key in on Panarin. I'm just talking out of my $8 there.
Yeah.
But, I think they have it in them to make a move to go quote unquote all in this year without sacrificing the future, because they have a lot of assets and they're still a young team, right? Their window is just opening. So
absolutely,
I would not be surprised if come Friday we hear somebody went to Anaheim and could have some fantasy impact.
Yeah, fully agree. All right, and lastly, Artturi Lehkonen of the Colorado Avalanche is day-to-day with an injury. He wasn't on power play 1 when he got injured, but those kind of couple of wingers, like the top 4 wingers, are always kind of shuffling around. So if anything, that just kind of solidifies. Right now, it's Nelson and Landeskog on power play 1. So when guys like Lehkonen or Nichushkin get injured, it just solidifies the power play 1 spot for the other guys. And as we always mention with Colorado, somehow they have the league worst power play. But it doesn't matter. More ice time and power play time is valuable.
First in every offensive metric, but to have the worst power play in the league. Like, you could not make that up. Like, it's just
nuts.
Somebody had to tip the scales and be like, you can't be too overpowered. Like, something has to go wrong here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making this up though, but I feel like I saw Jared Bednar say like he's gonna miss a lot of time.
I think I saw that as well. Yeah.
So maybe day to day for now, but I would not be surprised if they're like, this guy is on the shelf until the playoffs. And I think the only thing that would be maybe, he wasn't power play 1, so nobody's getting a bump up there. But I do think it means, you rely more on Nichushkin and those other wingers that, the Olofssons as well. I think those guys probably become more integral to the success of the team, because somebody's got to step up to score the goals that Lehkonen would have scored. So.
For sure. And I think the one guy on Colorado these days that seems to be killing it, that we recommended to pick up on our waivers show is Gabe Landeskog. So I think that this, if this solidifies his spot on line 1 power play 1, like this injury, it makes him even more of an ad than we already said. So and he's already kind of popping off. So
I think he's really good.
I would definitely get in on that. Yeah.
The issue with Landeskog was always his deployment. We would never be able to guarantee that he kept it. Now it feels like guys are dropping. So we always said if he has line 1 power play 1, he is very valuable. It's just never be sure if he was going to keep it. Now you're kind of more sure than you were before. So if you still have the chance to grab, now's the time.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about a few players who came back from injury. We have Brayden Point of the Tampa Bay Lightning, line 1, power play 1. He demoted Brandon Hagel from power play 1, as we've been saying for months. So I really hope that all the Hagel owners listen to us. Jakey's a Hagel owner. He did not listen to us.
Yeah.
I think he was sending out offers, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. But I think
he doesn't he never goes too hard on the offers.
Yeah.
Jakey always gets caught up in the moment. I feel like he's just like, he sees the self-fulfilling prophecy of what the best outcome is, and I mean, we all do it. You know, it's hard not to think about like this guy just sustaining what he's doing, but that's why you have your co-host here to. Well, I feel bring it back down to reality a little bit.
I feel like it's one of my strengths, but also kind of like a weakness because I take it overboard. I feel like out of the three of us, I'm the most like if I have a guy who's doing well, I'm immediately like I need to get rid of him.
100%.
And sometimes it's great because there's definitely times where I sell high and it's awesome, but sometimes it's not great. Like I sold Gostisbehere for like pretty cheap, because I was like he's gonna fall off. And
Eric Carlson a few years ago.
I mean that was still a win, but he definitely didn't drop off like I thought he was going to. But yeah, I feel like we try to keep each other honest. And but yeah, anyway, so I hope everyone sold Brandon Hagel when they got the chance, and I hope
he's still a beast.
Yes, yeah. It's just that he was
no
not
power play 1.
Yeah, and he was just playing out of his mind, so he was a huge sell high. And I hope everyone bought Brayden Point at some point this year, as we were kind of like talking about it nonstop, because he's line 1 power play 1 with Kucherov on Tampa, and he's playing. He seems to be getting his groove back. So I definitely would love to have Point going into the fantasy playoffs, especially week 21 to 23 or 22-24. Tampa has a great schedule, so so I'm really hoping that a lot of you guys bought low on him.
Yep. I mean, Brayden Point, I feel like when he was injured, we were telling you to buy low. When he was dog water before the injury, we were telling you to buy low. When he was about to come back from injury, we were telling you to buy low. When he got hurt again, we were telling you to buy low. Like we were super confident in Brayden Point the whole season, it felt like. So hopefully you listened to us and hopefully you had the opportunity to capitalize on that. Some people were able to pick him up off waivers, which is crazy enough. But I wish I was in those leagues because that just feels like free value. I picked up Mark Stone in one league. Somebody had cut him.
Crazy.
And I was shocked I was able to pick him up. I had to use my waiver claim on him, but listen, the man was like 1.5 points per game for the longest time in the season. And now he's hurt. So
yeah.
It all comes full circle.
Classic Mark Stone sentence, All right, and then Kirill Marchenko of Columbus Blue Jackets came back, line 1 power play 1. He bumped Kent Johnson off of power play 1, and he's also kind of picking up where he left off. So again, I hope there was a time where Marchenko was a great buy low. So I hope a lot of you guys were able to get in on that, and they've got a great schedule the rest of the season.
Yeah, and Ken Johnson. I mean, Columbus is kind of going through it right now because it feels like everybody's sick. They don't have Werenski, they don't have Duchene right now. We didn't mention them today because they're just illnesses. These guys are probably going to play next game. And Ken Johnson was a scratch, so that's something to note there that he needs a change of scenery. I think. Not even the bonus bump could save Ken Johnson. So
yeah. All right, that takes us to the famous Would You Rathers. Jakey's not here, so Kevin's gonna have to split the difference between me and him, which I think is a lot harder.
Yeah, it is. Me and Josh never split the difference because we're always on the same wavelength. That's why when Jakey's here, it's like perfect. They get to split the difference. But we'll try to project what Jakey would choose. I think.
Yeah.
But for those of you listening for the first time, welcome. This is the best segment in all of fantasy hockey, where I choose 5 would you rathers. I choose 1 center, left wing, right wing, defenseman, goalie, and I try to split the difference, trying to determine, where is the line that we can separate these players. Really good for, trade conversations, but now the trade deadline is behind us. So we're going to focus on more guys that are close to your waiver level, maybe slightly above, the bottom guys of your roster, most likely in most of your leagues, and guys that are just hot and popping on the waiver wire. So interesting conversations to be had. Let's get started with the left wing position. Would you rather rest of season, and we're always talking full banger categories without face-off wins because most leagues do not have face-off wins, but shots, hits, blocks, we'll add shorties, we'll add PIMs in there. Would you rather Gabe Landeskog, who we just talked about, or Rakell of the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Wow. Okay. That's tough. It's like there's the recency bias and there's the whole season, Yeah. Like whole season it was Rakell for sure, but recency bias, it's definitely Landeskog. Crosby's injured, so they definitely take a hit. So now his line is Rakell, Rust, and Kindle. I like Kindle, but that's definitely a huge downgrade.
The power play has been nuts, though.
Yeah, the power play has been nuts. It hasn't stopped. That's honestly
I have
crazy.
Erik Karlsson, and I feel like he's got like 3 power play points in his last 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, there was that one game they played against like Vegas, and they got like 4 power play goals. But like,
Yeah.
that's really tough. I love Rakell's hits and blocks, but Landeskog. We're not counting the faceoff wins, but he's been shooting, he's been hitting. Power play's non-existent for Colorado. I think I still got to give the edge to Rakell. He also has 1 extra game in the finals, although like both have great playoff schedules. I think it's easy to get caught up in the recency bias of Landeskog. I also think Rakell's like deployment is a lock, whereas Landeskog can get bumped at any moment. So I love me some Landeskog, but I'm still going Rakell.
Yeah, it was close. When I wrote this down in my mind, I was going Landeskog, but then the more I thought about it, the more I was like tried to separate myself from like the last week of production, and I was like, I think I have to go Rakell. I think first of all, you're getting the block from the forward position. Both of them are winger eligible and getting face-off wins. So if you wanted to add face-off wins into the equation, it's kind of similar there. But I think to me, it's the power play is the big difference. I know that Pittsburgh has a really good power play, even without Crosby, and I know Colorado, for some reason, has the worst power play in the league.
Yeah.
So I think that's the deal maker here for me, even though, arguably Landeskog has been better in the last week.
Yeah.
Rakell hasn't been awful, but
how does that make sense? How does that make sense that Pittsburgh has like a top power play in the league, even after losing Crosby?
Yeah.
And then you look at like Colorado's and the worst.
Baby.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what it is because you look at the personnel, like, I mean, no, Karlsson's sick, right? He's clearly a great power play quarterback, has been throughout his whole career, and he's keeping it up. But like, you've got Kale McCarr, like what's going on there?
Nathan
McKinnon, like Marty H's, like it's like, how does it make sense? Like, you got to think, like, is it a coaching thing? You think that Pittsburgh just has a really good power play coach and Colorado has a terrible one? Like,
I don't know what it is.
Is the coach putting the wrong players out? I don't know what it is. It's just like, how does that, like, something like that even like calibrate? Like, especially with the Crosby entry is what making me like think that. But I don't know.
Then you look at Nathan McKinnon's stats, and he's still averaging like 0.4 power play points a game, which is still nuts, right? So maybe they're just getting so many more opportunities. Their conversion rate is really bad, but they're still able to get the power play points, for fantasy, anyways.
Yeah.
It's an interesting conversation. I feel like somebody's got to do a deep dive in that in the off season.
Or maybe it's like, honestly, I don't know. That is crazy though. It's true because like McKinnon's like power play points per game don't take a hit at all, despite being like the worst power play. So it's very interesting. All right, what's the next one?
Where do you think Jakey would have went though?
I think Jakey would have gone with Landeskog.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, listen, it's easy to go with the recent hype and just follow the data at that point, especially after the Lehkonen injury. But
yeah.
So we'll say I've hypothetically split the difference there.
Yeah. It's easy when you can just make up the other answer.
I know. He definitely would have went this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Going to the second one, we're talking about centers. Now, this is a fascinating one. In my mind, I feel like I asked this exact question like a couple weeks ago. Now we're here reevaluating because it makes sense again. But would you rather rest of season Robert Thomas or Adam Fantilli?
That's okay. So obviously, like, Thomas gets all this trade to Buffalo hype. Not that it happened yet, but it feels like it's a done deal. But honestly, like, I'm so impressed with Fantilli. Like, I'm playing against him this week. Not happy about it.
Yeah.
I think this guy's a star. I think he finally got the deployment this year and he's running with it. I'm super high on Fantilli. So even though I'm actually like, I remember this question. I don't know if it was a would you rather, if it was just like a question that we had talked about.
I think we all went Fantilli when we made the decision.
Yeah.
I think you were not on the podcast.
You're right.
And we thought that you would go Robert Thomas, but then you told us you would go Fantilli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're right. I wasn't on, but it was on there. But I still got to go Fantilli. And my like standing, like the way I view both of them went up, but like Fantilli was already higher, and they both, so if that makes sense. So I'm just so high on Fantilli. I'm very curious to see where he goes in drafts next year.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it into context too, like Fantilli, we know he has the edge in the category coverage. Like, this guy's a banger stud. He shoots, he hits. He can throw in some blocks here and there, but just the shots and hits combo, that with the line one, power play one, playing with like an elite winger in Marchenko, I think he's set up just for success. And I think maybe Thomas's ceiling is slightly higher in points if he does get traded to Buffalo or potentially somewhere else. But because right now Thomas is at what, like 0.7-ish points per game?
Yeah.
Like, he could get to a 0.9, 1 point per game. But if Fantilli's at a 0.8, 0.85, doing with the category coverage, I still prefer him. So
yeah. Totally agree. I think
All right.
what did Jakey say last time? He said Fantilli.
Yeah, he said Fantilli. I think
Yeah,
Jakey
actually,
would still
he would say
say
Fantilli.
Fantilli.
He always likes the young guys.
Yeah. Whoa, well, do not take that out of context, please. All right, going to the goalie position. Now, this might be, I think, a slam dunk for some. I think it's a maniacal question for others. But would you rather rest of season? You're not going to be happy about this one, Josh.
Ugh, Kuemper.
Jakob Dobes or Darcy Kuemper rest of season?
Let me put it this way. I'd rather a flaming hot pile of dog whatever word I could say that's not going to get bleep over Darcy Kuemper. So
really?
Look, I'm tired of being non-biased and trying to look at it objectively. I've hated every moment of owning Kuemper this year. I'm still holding on, hoping beyond hope that it turns around, but I'm taking Dobes. The Habs are sick. Dobes is clearly like making like a solid argument for being the starter.
I think he's a starter right now.
I think he's fully the starter. The only thing that can hurt Dobes is if for some reason the Habs decide to make a stupid trade for like Binnington or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's going to happen. I trust our management. That's it. Like, I don't think they're going to do that. But if they did, then obviously Dobes would be kind of cooked because you're not going to trade for a goalie if you're not going to play them. Mm-hmm. But I don't see that happening. So I'm definitely going Dobes over Kuemper. Like I said, I think at this point I'm going most people over Kuemper.
Okay, so where's the line for Dobes? Because if we're basically viewing him as the starting goalie on a Montreal Canadiens team that wins a lot of games, Dobes' record itself is like great, right? Like he's basically been solid the whole year. They've gone through stretches of trying to get Montembeault going, and that's kind of like hindered Dobes' success
and
too.
He had a few stretches of not being great. But
it was mostly because like he was consistent, and they kind of messed
100%.
up the consistency trying to get Montembeault going.
Yeah.
So where do we draw the line? Like, would you rather Dobes or like a Jeremy Swayman?
That's a great one. I think I'd go Dobes.
Yeah, okay. What about John Gibson or Dobes?
That's super close. I mean, we're right there in the standings with Detroit. I guess are we, like, if we're counting in the injury, then I'd go Dobes. If we're not counting the injury, I'd go Gibson, just because I think he has, like, we're saying Dobes is the starter and he should be, but we've seen in the past them try to get Monty going, whereas they're not trying to get Cam Talbot going. So I'd go Gibson if he's healthy.
Got it. I mean, I feel like he's like a fringe top 10 goalie rest of the season, Dobes, with the current position that he's in.
Yeah.
All right. Going into the defenseman position, this one might be controversial. We might upset some people here, but I think it's worth having the conversation with how things are going. But would you rather, rest of season, we're trying to make the hard decisions here, guys. We're trying to win fantasy championships, not
make friends.
not make friends and play to big name fantasy players. But would you rather Brandt, Clarke, or Adam Fox rest of season?
I knew Adam Fox was going to be on it.
Really?
I thought you were gonna go with like Dougie versus Fox, but I think we've done that one in the past. So, look, obviously Fox has the elite playoff schedule of the 4-4-4, but I think there's a risk he gets shut down. Like, if he's not healthy, like, he can be the next one to be shut down. I think Rangers are dog awful. I'm very hyped about Clarke and LA with this coaching change. It may be I really like Clarke's shots and blocks. Fox is not a backhats of any kind person. He's a points guy. So
he can get you like 1.8 like shots blocks type of thing, which is not nothing, but it's,
I mean, Clarke's been doing like 2 shots, like 2.7 blocks, which is like really
2.7
nice.
blocks is insane.
Yeah. So
the Rangers are, Panarin's gone, Trocheck is probably gone. Like, who's the talent here? And it feels like the 5v5 production is not going to be sustainable. And even the power play, how good is the power play going to be? They're going to be losing most games.
That's really tough. I think that, like, I definitely much prefer Brandt Clarke's situation, like who he's going to be playing with, like all that. Not injury issue, whatever. Fox is still the better defenseman. Like, just like, Clarke's going to be a great defenseman, but he's still young, and Fox is still like a top 5 defenseman in the league, in my opinion. I think you still got to go Fox, especially because he has the playoff schedule like on his side. And I do think that, like, even with how high I see, like, how much I like Clarke rest of the season, I still think Fox is going to have better points and better power play points per game over Clarke. I think Clarke's going to have the better shots and blocks, but I think I still think I go Fox with the extra games.
It's so tight. I came in here ready to say Brandon Clarke, to be honest, just because
I wanted to. I have him on my team, and I love him.
I know. I was gonna be like at a certain point you have to reevaluate situations, and you need to just make a call and put fantasy names aside and just be like, who's gonna give me the production that I need to win my fantasy championships. And I think to me it's like I'm giving the edge for the playoff schedule that does some of the heavy lifting. But then after that, I'm thinking about if he gets shut down, that's a 0 for me, right? And I'm not going to have the opportunity to get a Brandon Clarke on waivers or something,
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying he's super available, but he's still available in some leagues out there. Like if you're 40%. In a 10, if you're in a 10 or 12 team league, there's a chance Brandon Clarke is on waivers right now. So it's so tough for me. My gut is telling me Brandon Clarke because I just feel like, and I have Fox in one of my leagues. I have the Fox Zibanejad stack, so the only guys that are still going to remain New York Rangers. So I guess we'll see, but it's tough. Where do you think Jakey would go?
I think he would go Clarke. He was trying to. He wanted Clarke from me in a trade, except he wasn't willing to give anyone who's not a drop. So yeah, but I think for me, I'm just trying to not get too hyped about my own guys and trying to be as unbiased as I can. And the way I see it is think of Quinn Hughes on Vancouver. Despite being playing with absolute garbage, he was still putting up great numbers, Yeah. And so
you sold me, especially with the playoff schedule.
That's why if Clarke had the playoff if the playoff schedules were inversed, I would go with Clarke. Yeah. But I think the playoff schedule and just who Fox is enough to make me still choose Fox.
Yeah. All right, last one. These are two guys that have been some of the hottest players in the NHL, and their on-ice performance has matched their looks. I'm talking about Matt Duchene versus Charlie Coyle.
That's a good one.
Rest of season. Who are we going with?
For me, it fully hinges on how long do we think Mikko Rantanen is going to be out for. Because if Rantanen's out for the rest of the fantasy season, I'm easily going Duchene. But if Rantanen comes back in a week or two, I'd rather have Coyle on my team. So based on what I think of the injury, I think Rantanen's going to be out for the rest of the fantasy season. I think they're going to hold him out until playoffs, is the impression I'm getting. If maybe a game or two just to get back into things towards the end of the season. So for that reason, I got to go with Duchene. But I think it's a great one. Duchene I think just has higher upside, but also kind of I don't want him at all if Rantanen's back. So it's an interesting way to look at it.
I mean, Duchene was a guy that we were not on at all this year. He was a point per game player last year. I think one of only 35 or 36 players last year hit a point per game. He was one of them. He's very one-dimensional in that he's not going to get you much category coverage. It was just kind of the points. I don't know how it happened that he averaged that much, but this season I feel like we were really off that boat. But if you're put into a position to succeed on the power play one of the better power plays in the league, playing with top talent, you reevaluate the situation. I think he's really performed with that opportunity right now. Like you said, if Rantanen is out rest of the season, I think you got to go Duchene just from the upside of being on such a better team with that deployment. But Coyle is probably the safer pick in terms of what you're getting. He's line 3C, but he's playing line 1. He's playing a power play 1 and PK 1, so he's playing the important minutes there, and he's delivered. So I feel like every game I see, Coyle 2 points or whatever, and I'm just wow, he's doing it again.
It's crazy. It's actually crazy. Yeah,
and he plays with Matthew Olivier at 5v5, so I'm just putting it out there,
That's pretty much line 1. Yeah, and I don't blame us for being off of Duchene. I will be off of Duchene for the rest of his career. It's just the only reason he's doing well is because Rantanen's out. He wasn't doing well before that, when he wasn't on power play 1. And last year, the reason that he was point per game is because his line of him with Sagan, and I think Ben was the third guy. They were just on fire. They were playing. That's how some of these teams like Florida, Dallas,
and they essentially
have. They get better matchups, and they essentially have multiple first lines because they're so deep. So that's why he was so good last year. But I don't blame us for not being a big fans going into it.
So you're going Duchene over Coyle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think same for me. Where do you think Jakey would go?
He'd probably choose Maverick Bork over both. So
Fair. You did pick him up for his fantasy team.
He did. He's a man of his word. He says something on the pod, and he believes in it. He believes in his convictions.
He does. He has convictions. They're not always right, but Jakey's never wrong. He's just early sometimes.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's the saying.
But no, I think he would go Duchene here. I think it'd be a 3-way sweep.
Yeah.
All right, I guess that wraps it up for the Would You Rathers. Hopefully, I split the difference between us and the viewers and made the people think about their rosters in a certain way. But really appreciate everybody sticking around. If you made it this far, we really appreciate it. Make sure you drop us a follow on, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening. Hit that follow button. Rate us 5 stars if you like what you hear on the YouTube. Please subscribe already. We're almost at 200. We really appreciate if we can hit 200 before the fantasy playoffs. Leave us a comment. Subscribe also, and join the Discord. That's the last thing I'll say. Join the Discord. And I guess, listen, we're all here to wait for the beautiful jingle Josh is about to bless our ears with. So I will let you take it away, Erne.
Ba-ba-da-bow-bow, Banger Management Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Woo!
Woo! Woo for Jakey.
Woo!